It is a great honor. I'm a coach. Here you are in front of me, providing an amazing opportunity for me to do what I do and what I love to do. I started as a golf teacher, morphed into a business coach. Then I started coaching elite athletes, including mogul skiers. I had the first mogul skier kind of group I worked with, and I had an orthopedic spine surgeon dad who wanted to be in the room as a dad, which I didn't need. So I asked him to put skin in the game if he wants to stay, and he did. And I became his surgical coach. From there, it went really well. His complication rate went down. He started introducing me to other attendings, and now he's at Swedish Neuroscience Institute, and now I coach the fellows at Swedish Neuroscience, along with the OR staff and some of the attendings. I also coach athletes. I'm a performance coach, sports performance coach at the University of Washington. They've hired me on after, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of that journey on how I got there, but started off through coaching the women's golf team there. I was sitting down with the acting chief of surgery, neurosurgery, and we were going to talk business, and the first thing I started doing was coaching him. It was quite presumptuous. 15 minutes into it, I said, wait a minute, you may not be here for coaching, but to his credit, and luckily for me, because he maybe could have crushed me, he put skin in the game. He actually switched gear pretty quickly from a business meeting on how to deploy this with the fellows into being coachable. So I'm going to be presumptuous with you and go into coaching mode and kind of lay out a little bit of how we work with the surgeons and with the athletes. And the way we want to model this is we had a fellow come into this complex spine fellowship. Top guy, wonderful surgeon, wasn't necessarily interested in mental coaching like we provide, but he ended up doing a great job. He wrote a letter, and I'm going to kind of read it to you, and we're going to unpack it because it should be a good frame of reference. All right, so here's what he said. I came from a residency program that provided excellent surgical training. It was very much a sink or swim program, and the stress of just surviving often felt nearly overwhelming. I was certainly taught nothing about stress management. What I learned there was to internalize it, tough it out, and never repeat the same mistake twice. If I was to keep my superiors off my back, I had to be the most knowledgeable, driven, and intense person in the room. Weakness could not be tolerated. It was like blood in the water to a school of sharks. There's something to be said for this mantra. I certainly grew in my abilities. It forced me towards independent decision-making and confidence in spite of adversity. Yet I saw it break others down. What I can say is this. Although my skill set upon graduating was solid, my mental preparedness was not. I was a fireball of energy with little emotional control. Any frustration tended to end in a volcanic eruption of expletives. At times, I was certainly not a pleasant person to work with. This is how I entered my complex spinal deformity fellowship. My experience at Swedish has been nothing short of a game changer. One of the first things that Dr. Hanscom taught me, and that's the first person I coached, is that the energy I summoned to do my best in residency and climb the hill is what will ultimately lead towards my crashing and falling off the cliff. Although I initially scoffed at the idea, deep down I knew it to be true. In essence, he taught me that the main ingredient in the recipe of creating a great surgeon is an energy, a drive to beat others, some uncanny genius, or an encyclopedic memory. Sure, those might help, but they aren't enough. No, truly great surgeons simply enjoy what they do. They have fun taking care of patients and operating. Fun probably seems like an abstract concept to many residents, but it's completely true. To have fun, one must be truly relaxed and in control in all situations. Most importantly, this means in control of their own actions and emotions. Always proactive, rarely reactive. I learned the important concept of interferences. This is where David Elamy's coaching was instrumental. Life is abundant with interferences. The OR, of all places, is chock full of interferences. I learned the concepts of hardware and software. Hardware are the external interferences, some modifiable, some not. The software is how you process the hardware, how you react to them. Performance equals skill minus interference. My residency gave me the skills. The entire team at Swedish doubled those skills. Hanscom and Elaimy gave me the software to deal with the interferences. My performance skyrocketed. Although these may be easy concepts to digest, they aren't that easy to implement. It's a learned skill set that requires practice. Furthermore, any gain in this area has profound implications for the rest of life in general. Thanks to the fellowship, I'm a better colleague, husband, and father. So as I go into the coaching mode and we unpack this, what I'd like you to do, right, is what I do with all my students that I'm working with, is identify some area of your life, whether it's as an entrepreneur or as a surgeon. If you play golf, you're going to get a benefit from what we're about to do. As a parent, as a husband, as a wife, and actually look in your own lives and apply this in that way. So you're basically off the sidelines and on the court. The first thing that we'll unpack is the concept of hardware and software. In any domain, we can break the world down into hardware and software. Hardware are the external things. In surgery, when the surgeons come together and talk about it, hardware is the patient. Administration, technology, you can see what those things are. Outcomes and results, hardware. The OR staff, hardware. The innovation, the device that we're talking about here, Dr. Cohen talked about, the innovation is hardware, right? The outcome of that is hardware. There is a whole bunch of software, right, that goes into innovating that, but it's useful to be able to dial in what these are: technical skills, time schedule, family, money, business. Software. Software is your mindset. It's a top-line focus or approach or perspective. Software are thoughts. So all of you guys have all these thoughts, and when we're coaching the surgeons in the OR, it's really important, particularly when things get difficult, for them to be conscious of what the software is. Emotions are software. So here's Mindfulness 101. This is the first thing we do as we coach. Take a moment and stop in this room and identify what is the hardware and what is the software in the present moment. So the hardware is this room, the lights. The hardware is the chair that you're sitting in. The hardware is me standing up in front of you. Hardware is this conference, Alpha Conference. Software would be what you're thinking. So stop and take a look at what are the thoughts that you are running right now. And this is something that we have the surgeons do at various times. When the C-arm comes in to take a scan, depending on how the case is going, the surgeon will be able to stop and take a breath and just observe what is the hardware and the software in the present moment. It's Mindfulness 101. And oftentimes with the athletes and the docs, what we have them do is set an alarm for the next day at 10 o'clock. And when it comes in, they just stop and in that moment come into the present and observe the hardware and the software. The second thing he talked about is the essential performance formula. Performance equals skill minus interference plus or minus luck. Let's do the plus or minus luck part first. Oftentimes there are things you can't control. Let's talk about it from the standpoint of a golfer. You might hit a beautiful drive right down the middle of the fairway and the ball lands in a divot. And that's going to have an effect perhaps on score. Half a stroke. What we will oftentimes with the athlete that walks up and finds this ball sitting in the divot is that it changes that formula. It increases the interference. They become frustrated. I've gone in and observed a number of surgeries, kind of strange for a golf teacher to do, but I had to understand it. And one time while the doc was scrubbing in, circulating nurse comes and says, well, here's who your scrub tech is. And he's like, oh my God, not again. I can't work with that scrub tech. She's like, that's who you have. Cancel the surgery or work with the scrub tech. Minus luck. We know you have that part of the formula covered if you're able to just say, yeah, that didn't work. Minus luck. And it's neutral. It stays in that space. So many times, though, especially when we look at the chronic pain patients that a lot of the neurosurgeons look at, is that they had some minus luck, some injury that ended up changing their lives. But it also blew up the interference side, and they became victims. And I notice, honestly, a lot of times these top neurosurgeons that I work with are victims. There's some minus luck, whether it's from an administration or their patient or their attending that they're working with or with the staff. The instrumentation comes slow, equipment's not working, and they end up sort of building up a bunch of anger over time. So the external minus luck ends up increasing interferences. What I'm not able to do with a neurosurgeon is to help them with their skills. right? I am able to do that with a golfer, so if you need help with your golf swing sometime, we can help you with that. My job is to help surgeons identify, and you identify and eliminate the interferences that get in the way of your performance. And I'll tell you a story. I was a volunteer coach, kind of the mental coach for the University of Washington women's golf team. We go to the 2015 NC2A Championship in Florida. We were a number 1 ranked team, but middle of the season, 2 of our players qualify for the LPGA Tour. So now we're going to the national championship with our 3 through 7 player. University of Washington, we're up in the north. We're not a powerhouse necessarily. But the team kind of came together. There's just a few of us left. In fact, it was the only 5 players on the team. If one of them got injured, we were sunk. Somehow, so you go there's 24 teams that tee it up in the national championship. Top 8 make it to match play. Now, this is the first year we've done that. Golf channels there, TV cameras. Our team goes out, and we're matched up against USC, the number 1 ranked team in the country, and the number 1 seed. We're the 8th seed. We have them against the ropes. I was coaching that round, and I picked up a kid named Ying Luo. The head coach sent me, go pick up Ying. She's 4 down after 4 holes to the number 1 player in the country who's now on the LPGA Tour. So I joined Ying and tell her stories of redemption and come back. And she came back. Our whole team had them down with maybe 3 or 4 holes to play. And then disaster struck, and our best players hit shots that you never would see. We had a kid hit the ball in the lake who's the most accurate player probably in the nation at that point on both 16 and 17. We had another kid hit the ball in the lake on 17, and our lead quickly faltered. Kid I was with, Ying, made this great comeback and now is 1 down on the last hole. Her opponent hits the ball in the lake. Ying, which is all of a sudden advantage Ying, but she pulls it and she's in a bunker on the left on the 18th hole at Concession. She's got a tough shot. There's a lake on the right. Pin is over there close to the lake. We go through the shot. We have this plan. She steps in the bunker. She has the skill to play the shot. She's an extraordinary player. She steps in the bunker, makes her swing. It goes right and splashes 30 yards into the lake. And that cost us the tournament. And I was gutted, right? I had seen, as the season came along, that there were some interferences there that were affecting the performance of the team. But it was really sort of covered up by how well the team was doing and how they came together against this adversity, chip on their shoulder kind of thing. The next day, it kind of took some time, but I asked her, I'm like, Ying, tell me, what were you thinking about when you stood up into that bunker? What was the interference? She said, well, I was uncomfortable. I'm like, Ying, I was there. Just talk to me. We could have cleared that out, right? So we have this sense of interferences. Now, oftentimes when we're debriefing surgeries debriefing interferences with surgeons, we're able to go back and identify what the interferences are. Sometimes the interferences are there before they even step into the OR because clinic can be crazy and hectic. Sometimes the interferences show up when they're at a part of a case where they've had a complication before. Where are we on time? All right, perfect. So, we always do this. We went back to the drawing board at the beginning of next year and sat at the retreat. We have now 3 freshmen, and that team before had a bunch of seniors in 2016, they were gone. So we had 3 freshmen, some seniors, and we began to work on interferences. And what I'm interested now is that you're going to pair up and actually speak for a second. We're going to move from me talking into a little bit of workshop mode. And in that area of your life, or any interference, we're going to have 1 minute each to share what is the interference that you might have at this very moment. Something around your to-do list, something around your leadership as a surgeon, as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a wife, as a parent. Share what that is. After 1 minute, I'm going to have you switch. This is exactly what that golf team did, and then we'll go from there. Do you have the person next to you? Usually with docs and these kinds of things I have to say, all right, it's okay. By the way, interferences are not weaknesses, right? They're just patterns that obstruct performance. At whatever it is that you're up to, we want to go after and eliminate interfering patterns, and it's clear that we all have some. Okay, go. Okay, if you haven't, go ahead and switch. Okay. Beautiful. I love it. You can keep this conversation going, but let's... Somebody hit your glasses. Okay. Okay, so we opened up a can of worms. It's really useful. Most of the time, you guys are in the business, I hate to admit it, of suppressing interferences, kind of powering through them, right? Especially when we're talking about high achievers like surgeons, right, and innovators. Push through, push through. This ends up causing a problem for many surgeons that we work with later in their career because eventually, working with a guy right now who's an extraordinary cardiothoracic surgeon, world class, does incredible things, but ended up kind of having an outside life event that sort of exposed some of the interferences that he was so smart and powerful and talented that they just didn't really affect his performance. But then something came in and did, and it led to a big breakdown, right? It's important if you're interested in being extraordinary, not only to have the top line skill, talent running beautifully, but also to be able to take the legs out of interferences that may not be present every day, but can take you out at one point, right? At one point in the most important moment of a patient's life, for example. So thanks for being so open, right? And what I'm interested in is this is a community, and to be able to share your software and to be able to identify interferences, and there are interferences that block innovation. Dr. Cohen was talking about, it's right there in front of you, right? And a lot of people say, no, that's not possible. That's their interference saying, no, that's too crazy, you can't do that, right? It's refreshing to look at a surgeon who's just unleashed, right? Interferences aren't there, it's pure creativity. So we have a video. Can we play that video now? So it comes to the beginning of the next year, and here's the last shot of that same player, Ying's career. Okay, I'm just going to stop for a second. Hey, there I am. The last shot she hit the year before went in a lake. And she wasn't comfortable. And she woke up. Great player, right? Top player on a top team in the nation the year before with interferences where in the big moment, that's when it showed up. Wasn't there early in the round. But then she woke up, and then we did a bunch of reps and practice in order to be able to perform. I was so frustrated that first year because my job is to help performers succeed at the biggest moments of their lives. And that takes a certain amount of honesty with yourself and then practice to be able to eliminate those interferences. So by the way, in that tournament, here we are, that's the final round. We're playing against the defending champion Stanford, #1 ranked in the country. She was in a match even going into the last hole and hit that shot. And here's the interview right afterwards.
There was a lot of drama down the stretch, and this young woman next to me was a big part of it. Congratulations on the way you finished. Could you have ever imagined something so dramatic? You holing out for birdie to win a point.
Oh my God, that was unbelievable. Like, when I was standing behind the shot, I was imagining it going in. Because I was thinking about my teammate Sarah. She did it yesterday, and I'm saying I'm doing that too.
That's crazy. Yeah, here I am on the last hole, and I got a 50 yards pitch shot. Oh yeah, and I was actually focused on making that shot I made. I'm sure people on the Golf Channel watching this were like, really? How about just knock it close? But what she wasn't was uncomfortable. She may have been uncomfortable, but she was aware of it and was able to generate the mindset that she wanted, which is, how about make the shot? Quickly, here are some of the practices that we used. Meditation, that's just an awareness practice. Mindfulness meditation. If you've meditated, great, you understand this. If not, you can download Headspace and get Meditation 101. But that's one of the things they did. Because she wasn't aware that she was uncomfortable the year before. She just played the shot. The next year she had heightened awareness. Active awareness, that means I'm on the golf course and I'm paying attention to the environment. What we did before with what is the hardware and the software, the present moment, that's active awareness. When you go to lunch later today, odds are you won't taste a bite of it because your mind's going to be thinking and then somewhere else, right? So active awareness would be to stop and taste your food. Stop and pay attention to where you are in the present moment. Quiet your mind stream down a little bit. They did that a lot. One deep breath is a routine, and they would do that in their pre-shot routine. She got behind the ball. If you watch her, she would take a deep in-breath for awareness. What is my relationship? Am I uncomfortable? Out-breath for intention. Make the shot. We get enough reps of that, you can do it in the biggest moments of your life, right? At the key moments. And then the Alpha Conference. You know, we are a community here. This group, rule number 6 in the rules of hardware and software is contagious. And I think that Tobin is interested in seeing the software, the mindset of this group grow so that the innovations can spin out of here and investment can come out of here and great companies can come out of this group. So being able to leverage this to be able to practice more of what we did, 20 minutes is great, but if you can do some of these things we're talking about in terms of sharing what your interferences are, being aware of them, generating what you want, and practicing, right? You're all not in your regular lives. This is a great place to practice what you want to be. We say surgery is a place where you practice what you want to be. Alpha Conference this weekend is a place where you can practice what you want to be, right? She said, I did it. I focused on making that shot. My partner, my teammate, Sarah, made it the day before. So you can inspire each other. You've inspired me, particularly with your talking and sharing about your interferences. Let's keep that going. Thank you so much for your attention. And by the way, I'm going to be around for the next few days, so if you want any coaching or want to talk more about it, I'm open and available.